Sir, women file for divorce at a 70 or 80% rate because men aren't doing the work of relationships, and women come to the conclusion that they are doing this work alone. My husband and I share a common narrative about our own marital struggles on these accounts. He gets hundreds of comments from women who are getting divorced or who are divorced that say that they deeply loved their husband, but they can no longer labor alone. They'll sometimes tell him things like, I wish my husband would have done the changes and done the listening that you've done because I longed for him to change because I loved our relationship. Women don't despise men. Women largely aren't trying to hurt men when they leave. But it is exhausting to be alone doing the labor and work of a long-term relationship. And women at some point have to find respect for themselves, because if you are pulling most of that weight emotionally, you get tired and it just can't respect yourself after time. So women aren't leaving marriages because of lack of love for men. They're leaving marriages because they find a love for themselves, not to continue to be mistreated. Women also mention that they have been trying to communicate and wait and give excuses and or time for their husbands to change. And it'll be years, sometimes decades, that they say they've waited for these changes. And they don't see them. There's also a whole group of women that say they don't have the courage or the finances to leave a marriage that's excruciatingly lonely or hard for them. This is interesting because I don't think men are ill-willed. I just don't think we teach men on the whole pro-social skill building that it would take to have long-term co-created partnerships with women, because for the longest time, women were generally financially trapped in relationships, so men didn't need to have these skills.
But we need to talk about something. We need to talk about the statistic. The fact that 50% of people get divorced, because it's true. And I want to ask you something, that if we have a car that is driving, a section of road that people are driving down, and 50% of the people on that road fall off the road, what kind of questions do we ask as a society, right? We ask a lot. How is the road designed? What kind of car were they driving? What were the weather conditions as these things are happening? If it had a 50% fail rate, anything in our society, if a pharmaceutical drug kills half the people that are using that drug, what do? Immediately we stop it. And we ask all of the questions about how that drug is interacting in human lives. But about marriage, what do we say? When 50% of people are failing at this, we say, oh, people are just selfish. Human beings are just selfish. People are just selfish these days. People don't know how to stay committed or loyal. But somehow, we are not asking the question, what surrounds marriages? What are the roads marriages are driving down? We would never accuse drivers that bought a car and then 50% of people who used that vehicle got into accidents. We would start to ask the question, how is this vehicle designed? Are all the functions of this vehicle working? We wouldn't look at the driver and say, this must be a selfish driver. This must all be selfish drivers. But we do this about marriage. And I think this is really key, because I don't think that 50% rate is due to just the people in the marriages. I think we need to ask the question, what are all the circumstances in our society that surround families? Are those systems working?